Now right before we go into the verse, we have a strumming part which sounds like this. So here you can play the exact strumming pattern that I'm playing, or you can change it up a little bit and play your own strumming pattern as well. Let me take you through the chords that you have to play for this part, and then I'll break down the strumming pattern that I was using. So you start with an A minor chord. So for those of you who don't know, we have the open A string, you have the 2nd fret of the D string, 2nd fret of the G string, 1st fret of the B string, and the open high E string. The next chord is an F major, which you can play like this, which is just the 3rd fret of the A string, 3rd fret of the D string, 2nd fret of the G string, and the 1st fret of the B string. And in this case, you can leave the high E string open. After that, we have a G major chord, which you can play like this. Instead of playing it this way, because we don't really need the full chord, so instead you can play it this way. So there I'm playing the 3rd fret of the low E string, 2nd fret of the A string, and I have the D, G and B string open. Like that. And after that we have an E minor chord, where you have the 2nd fret of the A string, the 2nd fret of the D string, you have the open low E string, open G string, B string and high E string. So those are the first 4 chords, and you play them like this. So the first chord is played like this. So you start by plucking the bass note, the A string which is open, and then you just play down, up. After that, when you switch to the F major chord, you play this. So there you're playing down, up, down, up, down, up. That last down stroke is a little longer, so down, up, down, up, down, up. So all together you get this. I'll play that one more time. After that you have this. So on the G major chord you're playing this. If you spell it out, it's down, up, down, down, up. Down, up, down, down, up. And you play the same thing on the E minor chord. Down, up, down, down, up. So the change from the G to E minor sounds like this. So in the song you just play that once. So you just play A minor, F, G, E minor once. So it sounds like this. And after that you have this part. Over there the strumming pattern is exactly the same for the first 2 chords, the A minor and the F. After that you have to change it a little bit on the G major chord, and you also have to add this sus4 note there in between. Let me play it once for you. Sounds like this. So on the right hand you're simply just playing down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, and you're adding this note which is the sus4 note. So you're adding the note on the 1st fret of the B string there, like this. So you're playing down, and then you're playing up, where you're adding the note down, up, up, and then you're playing this down, up, down, up. So the first down strum, you play that without this note, and the next 3 strums you add in this note. So it sounds like this. So down, up, down, up. And after that you play this down, up, down, up. So there again on the first downstroke you have that note, but on the next 3 you don't have it, you lift it up. So you get this down, up, down, up. So if you add the 2 you get this down, up, down, up, down, up, down. So the last 4 chords sound like this. One more time. So if you play the entire chord progression from the start, it sounds like this. After that we have the verse, which sounds like this. So the very first bit sounds like this. So there on the left hand you have an A minor chord, and you start off by playing this, where first you're plucking the A string, G string, B string and the high E string together, and you play just the high E string which is open after that once. And after that you have this. So there you're using the slapping technique again, where you're adding a thumb slap, and with the index finger you're playing the high E string. So you have to roughly aim for that note there which is open, the high E string, like that. And the thumb slaps and makes that percussive sound, like that. And after that you have this. So right after the slap, you have this, where you add in this note on the 3rd fret of the B string and you plug that and then pull off to the 1st fret of the B string, like that. So all together you get this. And if I play it from the start, one more time. And if you speed it up, it sounds like this. And after that you have this part. So there you change from the A minor chord to the F major chord, which is played like this. You have the 1st fret of the low E string with the thumb, 3rd fret of the D string, 2nd fret of the G string and the 1st fret of the B string. So you have to play this. So you start by plucking the note on the 1st fret of the B string, and then you play this, where you're playing the low E string, then the D string, then the G string. So all together you get this. And after that, with your index finger, you play the 1st fret of the high E string. And then you pull off to the open high E string, like that. So again, all together, it sounds like this. So you play that note on the high E string 1st fret with your index finger when you slap, and then you pull off, like that. And after that you have this, where you start by plucking the open high E string, and then you play this, where you're playing the 3rd fret of the low E string and the 3rd fret of the B string. You have the open D and G string there in between. So you play this. You pluck the the low E string, then the D string, then the G string, and then the B string. And then slap. So first you start with the open string here, open high E string. So if I play it from the start of the verse, it sounds like this. And one more time. And right after you played this part, you have this part. There you start by pulling off from the first fret of the B string to the open B string. And after that you play this. So there you have an E minor chord, where you're playing that with a roll. You're playing the open low E string, then you're playing the D string, G string, and the B string with a roll. Like that. So far you have this. And after that you have this part. So there you pluck the low E string and then the D string. And then you ring the chord with a slap. So all together you have this. And after that you have this part. So there you're playing the third fret of the B string and then the first fret of the B string. And then you're holding an A minor chord and you're playing this, where you're plucking the A string, which is open, and then the G string, and then you're ringing the chord with a slap. So the whole thing sounds like this. One more time. So if I play it from that previous part again, it sounds like this. And after that you have this part. So there again you have a similar kind of idea where you're playing this. You're playing the third fret to the first fret on the B string. And then you hold an F major chord and then you play this, where you pluck the low E string, then the G string, and then you ring the chord with a slap. So the whole thing from the start till here sounds like this. And after that you have this. So you start by playing the first fret of the B string and then you play the open B string. And then you have this. So there you're playing the third fret of the low E string and you have the D string, G string and the B string open. Play the bass note first and then you slap and ring the D, G and B string. And then you play the open B string, and then you play the bass note again. I'll play that again slowly. It sounds like this. And if you play it from this note, one more time. So all together you have this. And after that you just have to add this part, which is just an up, down, up strum. So I'll play that again really slow. It sounds like this. So the whole thing from the start of the verse till this point sounds like this. And after that, the next part is very similar to this section, but it has a slight variation, so it sounds like this. So if you play it till the E minor chord, it's exactly the same till there. And after that you have this. So over there, when you reach the E minor chord, you just have to add in this note on the 3rd fret of the B string, and you have to play this. So just playing those two notes, one on the open high E string and one on the 3rd fret of the B string. But the first time you just have to play that with a slap like this. So the first time you play that with the index finger while you're slapping on the high E string, like that. And after that you have this part. So there you have an A minor chord and you're plucking the A string, G string, B string and the high E string. And then you play this. So there you pluck the 1st fret of the B string and then you slap and then you pluck that note again. And then you do a hammer on and pull off on the 3rd fret of the B string, like that. So I'll play that again really slowly. One more time. So the whole thing sounds like this. One more time. That you have this part. One more time. So there you're playing this. You have an F major chord here and you're plucking the low E string first and then you pluck the D, G and B string together like that and then slap. And after that you have this where you pluck the 1st fret of the low E string and then you pluck the 1st fret of the B string and then you pull off to the open B string. So the whole thing sounds like this. And after that you have this part. So there you're just playing the 3rd fret of the low E string and you have the open D, G and B string. So you start by playing the low E string and then you pluck the D, G and B together and then you play the bass note again. And after that you have this. So there you slap and you ring the D, G and B string and then you play the open B string and then the low E string. The whole thing sounds like this. One more time. So from the F major chord you have this. One more time. And after that, in the end, you just have to add that little melody where you're playing the 3rd fret of the B string and then you're playing the open high E string and then you're playing the 3rd fret and then pulling off to the 1st fret. So you get this. But the first note that you play, which is this one, you have to play that with the slap. So you have this. One more time. So if I play the whole verse from the start, it sounds like this. after that you have the chorus, which is exactly the same as the first chorus, but you just have to add the percussion to it. So it sounds like this. So you know the notes of the chorus, you've played it before and it's exactly the same. You've played it like this before. Now if you play the note on the third beat of every bar with the slap, it starts sounding like this. I'll play that one more time. And you just have to work it out and do that with the note on the third beat of every bar. So all you have to do is play the note on the third beat with the slap. So if you play it, it sounds like this. Now we have the second verse, which sounds like this. So the first half of the second verse is exactly the same as the first verse that we played earlier. The second part goes like this. So there you start with this chord where you play a regular A minor, but you have to add this note which makes it an A minor 7. So you're playing the open A string, the second fret of the D string, the second fret of the G string, the first fret of the B string, and the third fret of the high E string. So you start by playing a roll, where you start plucking from the A string which is open, and you pluck the G, B, and high E string. And then you play the high E string one more time, like that. And after that you have a slap, and while playing the slap you play the high E string, the note on the third fret there with the index finger like this. So the whole thing sounds like this. So right after you played this, you have this, where you play the open high E string, and then you play the first fret of the high E string, and then you play the first fret of the low E string for the bass note. So far you have this. And after that you have this part. So there you use your little finger to play this note on the 5th fret of the high E string if you count from here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5th fret of the high E string. So you play that note with the slap, and then you slide down to the note on the 3rd fret of the high E string. And right after you slide into that note, you play that note again, like that. So far you have this. And after that you have this part. So there you have this chord where you're playing the 3rd fret of the low E string and the 3rd fret of the B string and the 3rd fret of the high E string. So on the right hand you play this. So you start by plucking the low E string, then the D string, then the G string, and then the B string. The D string and G string there is open, and after that you slap. I'll play that again from the start. It sounds like this. And after that you have this part, where you play the 1st fret of the B string and then you hammer on onto the 3rd fret, and then you play the open high E string. So you get this. So far you have this. And after that you have this part. So there you start by playing this, where you're just holding the 3rd fret of the B string there and you're playing this. You're playing the low E string which is open, then the high E string which is again open, and then the B string here, the 3rd fret. And after that you have this. So there firstly you're playing the high E string which is open with the slap, and then you're playing the 3rd fret of the B string, and then you're playing the high E string again. So you get this. So the whole thing sounds like this. One more time. So far from the start you have this. And after that you have this part. So there you start with this. You have an A minor chord here, and you're playing the A string, G string, B string, and the high E string with a roll first. And then you play this, where you're playing the A string, then the G string, and then you're ringing the chord with a slap. Like that. So the whole thing becomes this. And after that you have this part. So there you start by playing the 3rd fret of the B string and then the 1st fret of the B string. And then you immediately switch to an F major chord, like that. And then you play this, where you're playing the low E string and then the D string. And then you're ringing the chord with a slap again. So far you have this. One more time. And after that you have this, where you just play the 1st fret of the B string and then you pull off to the open B string. So all together you get this. One more time. So from the start till this point it sounds like this. And after that you have this part. So this part you played it before, it sounds like this. You hold the 3rd fret of the low E string there and you have the open D, G and B string. You start by playing that, where you play the low E string, then you plug the D, G and B, and then you play the low E string again. And after that you have this, where you ring the D, G and B strings with a slap, and then you pick the B string, and then you play the low E string again. So you get this. So the whole part sounds like this. And again from the A minor 7 chord you have this. So that's the entire second verse. I'll play it from the start again. It sounds like this. So there in the end, after you play this, you just have to add in this little melody, which you played before in the end of the first verse. After this we have the second chorus, which is very similar to the first chorus, but the second half of it is different. Sounds like this. So there the first half is exactly the same as what you played before in the first chorus. And after that you have this new part. So there you start by playing the third fret of the high E string 3 times like this. So the first 2 times you just pick it regularly. The last time you play that note with a slap. And after that you have this part, where you play the first fret of the high E string and then pull off to the open high E string. And then you have this chord. So there you're kind of playing like an F major chord, but instead of playing this note on the first fret of the B string, you're playing this note on the first fret of the high E string. So you're playing the first fret of the low E string with the thumb, third fret of the D string, second fret of the G string, and the first fret of the high E string. So you have this. So you start by plucking the chord first. Pluck the low E string, D string, G string, and the high E string. And then you play this, where you pluck the first fret of the high E string 2 more times, and then you do this. So there you slap, and with the index finger you play the first fret of the high E string and then pull off to the open high E string, and then you play the third fret of the high E string. You just pick that regularly, and then you pull off to the open high E string again. So the whole thing sounds like this. You slap the first note on the first fret of the high E string, and then pull off, and then you play the third fret of the high E string, and then pull off again. So the whole thing sounds like this. And if you play it from the start, you get this. And after that you have this part. So here you have a C major chord shape. You're playing the third fret of the A string, second fret of the D string, open G string, first fret of the B string, and you just have to add in this note where you're playing the third fret of the high E string with your little finger. So on the right hand you have to play this. So there I'm playing the A string and then the D string with the thumb, and then I'm playing the B string with my index finger, and then I have this, where I'm ringing the higher strings with the slap, and then I'm picking the high E string. One more time. And after that you have this part. So there you have a G major chord shape where you're playing the 3rd fret of the low E string, 3rd fret of the B string, and the 3rd fret of the high E string. You also have the open G string there, so you have to play this. First you start by plucking the low E string, G string, B string, and the high E string together. And then you play the note on the B string 2 times. And after that you have this. So right after you played this, you have to play this chord where you're playing the 3rd fret of the B string and you're also holding the 1st fret of the high E string. And you also have the D string and the G string open there. So you have to play this. So you first ring the chord with a slap and then you play this. You just play the 1st fret of the high E string and then pull off to the open high E string. So the whole thing sounds like this. One more time. I'll play it once till here from the start. It sounds like this. And after that you have this part. So this is a part that's common and it's there in the previous chorus. You've played this before. So I'll play that entire second part of the chorus that you just learned. It sounds like this. So that's the entire second chorus. I'm going to play it once from the start. It sounds like this. After that we have the same strumming section that you've played before, but this time it's extended a little bit, it's played for twice the amount of time. So it sounds like this. So there you have the same 4 chords and the exact same strumming pattern that you've played before in the first strumming part. And here you just have to extend it a little bit. So you just play it 4 times. So you're playing 4 loops of the 4 chords. So you're playing A minor, F, G, E minor. That's the first one. Then you're playing A minor, F, G, E minor again. That's the second loop. A minor, F, G, E minor again. That's the third one. And the fourth time you play A minor, F, and G. You don't go to the E minor chord there. You just play A minor, F, and G and stay on G. So on the G major chord there, in the end, you just play down, up, down, down, up, down. Down, up, down, down, up, down. Like that. So since you already know the chords and the strumming pattern, you've played it before, I'm going to play the whole thing from the start till the end. It sounds like this. after that it directly goes into the third chorus. So I'm going to play it from that last G major chord on the strumming part, and I'll go into the chorus so you get to know how it connects. So the third chorus is actually exactly the same as the new part that you learned in the second chorus. But this time you just have to play it 2 times, you just have to repeat it. So since you know the part, I'm just gonna play the third chorus really slow. It sounds like this. And after that, finally, we have the outro, which sounds like this. So there I'm playing the exact same notes that I played in the first chorus, but I'm playing one long bass note instead of playing 2 bass notes like that. Instead of that, I'm playing, just sustaining that bass note. So I'm playing the exact same notes as the first chorus, but without any kind of percussion and with one long bass note for every chord. So it goes like this. And towards the end, you can also gradually slow it down to make it sound more graceful, like it's fading out. And after that, there's this one last part which goes like this. So there you start by playing the open G string 2 times and then the high E string once. And then you have this, where you're playing the 3rd fret of the B string 2 times, and then you're pulling off to the 1st fret, and then you're playing the 2nd fret of the G string. Like that. So the whole thing sounds like this. And you play this while you ring the last chord. Like that. And that's it for the outro. That's where the song ends. So let's discuss the structure of the song from the start till the end. So we start with the intro, then we have the chorus, then we have the strumming section, and then we have the verse where we start adding the percussion. Then we have the chorus with the percussion, then we have the second verse, then we have the second chorus. After that we have the extended strumming section, and after that we have the 3rd chorus, and then we have the outro. So that's the whole song. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope this helped. If you'd like to see more videos like this one, then subscribe to my channel. Also, if you have any questions or requests for song tutorials, then do let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. I'll see you in the next video.